I sense a very strong spiritual opposition here in Thailand, because when you consider that Buddhism's been entrenched here for 2,500 years or so, it's very difficult to turn that over. And I came here expecting to perform miracles. Nothing like I could do in Australia. It's been a slow miracle, a hard slog of day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, hanging in there to the best of my ability without any encouragement from any other Christian anywhere else in the world. You know, Christians came from America and Canada and in the early days, and that was sort of brief encouragement, but they weren't really immersed in the vision. They didn't understand. You know, they say, "Oh yeah, cute kids, we love the kids," but no one offering moral or financial support. And that's what I needed, encouragement. You know, 25 years is a long time to be in a strange country.
Hey guys, the Jesus Magnet is now partnering with Witness merch. They've even got a Jesus Magnet tab on their site with our merchandise. Let's check out their video.
At Witness Merch, we're more than just a store. We're part of your faith journey.
Our mission is simple: to provide affordable and accessible Christian merch so you can wear your faith proudly.
Not only do we have a range of trendy Christian merch and gifts, but we also offer customization to reflect your faith.
And above all, every purchase helps gift God's word to others, spreading the gospel message wherever you go.
Loud and clear.
That's beautiful.
That's good?
Yep.
Okay. So it's Phil, right?
Yes.
And you are been residing in Thailand over 20 years.
25 years now.
25 years.
Yes.
Yeah. And big shout out to David, who connected us.
Yes.
Just a local guy that goes to the coffee shop near my house. We met, and I sort of explained what I did for a living, and he goes, "I've got the perfect guy.
Yeah.
You have to meet him."
Yeah.
He's been running an orphanage for 20 odd years.
23 years.
23 years, raised something close to 30.
29 kids. Yeah.
29 kids, yeah. And he was actually really impressed by what you have been achieving over the last 20 odd years that you've been here. So, which is kind of neat, because when I was with these guys, I don't think any of them are believers. You know?
No.
So I'm not sure if you're... one thing that always strikes me as amazing is when non-believers are quite touched by the mission of what God's placed in your heart. So,
right.
But before we get to the orphans and the orphanages, I'm saying that weird. Orphanages. Am I saying that? Orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes my tongue does that. I can't quite get the word right.
That doesn't matter. We're not professional actors.
Yeah, that's right. So how did God get you from Australia to Thailand, and you knew that this is what he was calling you to do? Tell me a little bit about your life before Thailand, and then in Thailand, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Basically, my history in a nutshell is I was trained as a geologist at a world number 2 university, and straight out of school, I worked for 10 years in that for the government, and then I had a very serious car accident 35 years ago, and that caused me to rethink everything.
Yeah. Can I ask about your relationship with Christ at that point in Australia?
At that point, 1986, I was out opal mining because I used my geology I'd heard about how the original miners were driven from the land by a severe drought in 1904. And the guy opposite me a fellow scientist said, "Hey, you guys want to do something interesting? There's historic opal mines out there that have never been exploited because the original miners were taken from there because of a drought, a very severe drought. So I and two other geologists just mulled it over and thought, why don't we give it a shot? Because we weren't happy working for the government, no career path, and I guess we're adventuresome at that stage. I wasn't a Christian, so we went out and we bought a bulldozer. I sold my house. I think the others sold their houses. We sold everything to finance, bought a diamond drilling rig, and
Wow.
and we found some fantastic opal. And the people in the area called us the magicians because
Why is that?
wherever we went, we found opal,
Oh,
whereas
wow.
nobody else could, you see. And
Isn't Australia
is in far western Queensland.
but that Australia itself is where the most opal is in the world?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
99. Some comes from Ethiopia now, but the
Okay.
best opal in the world, and I have mined the best opal ever. Unfortunately, the best stuff that I mined was stolen from me, but that's another story. But while I'm out in the bush, there's nothing to do out there. I'm living in a tent, and we've got a bulldozer, and we living in a desert environment. I came to town and I bought a Bible at an op shop, and I read it, and I thought, I don't know whether this is true or not, but I want to believe this. And so after
So did your family, were they Christian or anything like that?
my parents were Anglicans. They
Okay.
supported our local high church Anglican
And you've
in
been
Canberra,
you're on the fence.
and I grew up an Anglican.
Okay.
I used to ride my bike to church before the parents would come. My other brothers didn't attend church, I don't think, but I was very keen, and I was confirmed in the Anglican church at the age of 12, but I wasn't born again, I don't think. But when I went to university, universities are anti-Christian organizations, and especially doing geology, they introduced me to the theory of evolution, and to graduate, I had to regurgitate all these, what I knew, not then, but soon, were all lies. It was all a fabrication, all this slow and gentle.
It's a religion.
It is a religion, yeah, exactly. And
Which is ironic.
It took me a long time to deprogram my mind. It was a guy by the name of Dr. Carl Whelan came to the Church of Christ Southport, which I was attending, because I was baptized there in 1988, a couple of years after finding Jesus in the wilderness. True wilderness experience,
Yeah.
And he explained how evolution was a fabrication, an antichrist fabrication. And so from then on, I started making videos. I made a couple of videos for a Christian organization. I'm not sure what was Answers in Genesis or Creation Ministries, because they...
Is that Dr. Kent Hovind?
No, nothing to do with Hovind. I like and respect Hovind, but no, this is...
I just interviewed Hovind.
Ken Ham is an Australian who went to America and started Answers in Genesis over there, where they focus on the chapters 1 to 11 of Genesis, and they're obsessed with that. Whereas I'm obsessed with eschatology.
Yeah, the end time stuff.
I read the whole Bible, and I believe the whole Bible, and I just realize how tough it was for the Old Testament Jews, because God had so many rules. I'm in Deuteronomy now for about the nth time, but it was just so strict. And then Christ came along, and everything suddenly was so easy by comparison, because God realized that as people, as flesh, we are so fallible. And so
So
Carl Whelan was a doctor, a medical doctor who had survived a head-on car accident in the desert, and started an organisation proclaiming Christ. And these are extra church organisations because the church is compromised too with the world, unfortunately. And it's very hard to find.
Can I ask what you mean by that?
Sorry?
What do you mean by the church is compromised by the world?
Well, a lot of people in the church don't take the Bible literally, which is a big problem. They pastors won't touch eschatology, which is your passion and mine, because they can't understand it. And it is difficult to understand. I've been studying it since Bible college in 97, I finished, I think. And I only attended Bible college because I wanted eschatology explained to me, which they did a pretty good shot at. Dr. Hilton Sutton's version. He came to our church, and we had we had Dr. Yonggi Cho. We had a fairly high impacting church on the Gold Coast of Australia, and so the church in America, especially. I don't know about. I come from a pretty good Bible church in Australia. It's where I did my Bible college, but in America, it's very compromised. It's I won't mention names, but there are plenty of churches over there that are not Christian.
I tell you what, one thing I noticed since moving over here, because I've been in the same church my whole life, and then for the first time in my life, I had to find a new church. Didn't know what I was looking for, and we went to a couple of different churches, and we started going to Refuge Calvary Chapel recently. And for the first time I've ever seen, they're going through the Bible verse by verse, chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
And then they're teaching on that, where what I had previously been experienced to. And I mean, I think every church has its place, but to get deeper, that's how you have to study the word, verse by verse, chapter by chapter. But the way that I had always heard preaching done was topical.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk on faith, and then I'm going to take 17 different verses from 14 different books of the Bible, and then I'm going to create my sermon out of that. And often can be done out of context a lot of the time. But if you go verse by verse, chapter by chapter, it's very difficult for the pastor to go out of context.
Yeah.
Because everything's been preached in context. And I have very, very much appreciated learning that way. And that's how now I study my Bible too. I don't go through and study multiple books at the same time. I just stick to the one and I run through it. Then I go to the next one. Yeah. And right now, what our pastor's doing is he's going through the book of Acts, following Paul. And when Paul writes to Corinth, then he goes through the book of Corinth. Why is he writing that?
Yeah.
And then once we finish Corinthians, he goes back to the book of Acts and follows along his journey. So it's a really cool way to go through it, actually.
It's a pity Paul didn't do a book on Laodicea, because that's the modern church globally now, as I see it anyway.
True.
Paul was great. He was, without Paul, where would we be? I think the book of Romans has got to be the best book in the Bible.
That's amazing, yeah.
Yeah. But there are people out there that malign Paul and say he wasn't of God. And I just think, oh, wow, you people are seriously deceived.
So just to reel you back to your story about being in the tent, and you found, you grabbed a Bible from a store, and you started reading that. Was that a pivotal point while you were studying geology and you were reading the Bible, I guess for yourself for the first time as well?
I wasn't studying geology. This is years later.
Well, you had studied it. You had already.
So I was just reading the Bible for something to do in the wilderness. Because there was no entertainment, no phones,
no Netflix,
nothing, nothing. It was just, we built a fire and we cooked our dinner on the fire, and we drove the bulldozer all daylight hours, and we fixed it when it broke down, and and we drove to town when we found opal, and we got them cut, but it was and my partner wasn't at all interested in Christianity. I gave him a Bible eventually, but so when we finished mining, I'll be 80 in 2 months. My recall difficult here, but after finding Christ, I drifted away from. I say I got ripped off by the biggest opal miner ever in Queensland came to me after I'd had enough of mining, and he said, I want to employ you to find. I can't find opal anymore. So,
wow,
I went out there in an old pickup or utility, and I said, where you're mining now, a historic mine, is not working. There's nothing here, but I will find it for you. And within a week or so, I found, and I pegged. You have to peg a claim. I pegged a claim in my own name, and we immediately started finding opal. It was a miracle.
yeah,
And what was really, but I'm living with this guy was very wealthy, had expensive opal shops. He was bringing Japanese in, and he said he only employed alcoholics and kept them dry, and they were lovely guys, but they were severely intellectually impaired. They were very good miners, but there was no conversation outside of that. And so I got a bit fed up with that, because the guy himself was in town and he just left his son in charge and these alcoholic miners. And so I said, I want to take a break. I came back. I was living on the Gold Coast of Queensland then. I came back, and that's when the miners, his guys, they were all his men, found this huge pocket of the most fabulous opal ever
wow,
and his wife and I were friends because she was interested in my antiques, and they were very honourable men. They put my share aside, and he sent his share to Japan because he said, this is unsaleable in Australia. It's too beautiful, too good, too
Wow.
valuable. And a woman came along. She heard about it. There's no secrets on the opal community. There are opportunists hanging in the trees, almost literally. And so she came along, got the men drunk, and stole my share of the opal.
wow.
And so,
That would
okay,
be probably
sorry,
how much would that be worth?
millions in today's economy, yeah. And I often thought about going back, and I thought, look, I've had so much, because life was a struggle then from me because I'd abandoned geology. I didn't have an entree. I didn't have any profile in the private geological realm, and so I did several things. I made, with no training at all, I was running a furniture factory making handcrafted furniture and timber furniture, and I started an antique business. I worked as a car restorer. I did lots of things.
Yeah.
And then I got this church that I was attending. The missions director came to Thailand. He'd come to Thailand every year for a week. And one day I went to his office and I said, I'm fed up with what I'm doing. I want to serve the Lord. I want to go to the mission field. And he said, well, I've got a bit of an open door into Thailand. And I said, boom, I've got my foot in that door. I'm going to go. So he introduced me to a pastor over here, and I put my house on the market. I met Juanita, and I discussed starting an orphanage here, and she said yes. Well, I always, she was struggling financially because she was an abandoned mother of three very young kids, and so I said okay. She said I use some of my salary to buy shoes for when I see street kids walking around barefoot. I buy shoes for them. Yes, I think that's a noble idea, and so we got married in Australia, and my missions director agreed to support us through the church, and it's been a long story, but basically of being abandoned by people we trusted.
Let me before we get there, your call to Australia, you're interested to start an orphanage. Where did that come from? Like, was there? Yeah, that's right. Look,
Yeah, I mean, it didn't cover.
like, did you heard about it from this missions guy?
There was a guy that a friend of mine in Australia knew who started an orphanage over here, and
it just touched your
yeah,
heart.
it just I have no surviving children of my own. I lost 3 children at birth, and so I have there was a hole in my heart, if you like, for children, and that's why one of the attractions of marrying Juanita, she had 2 little girls and a young boy, and these
Wow.
kids call me dad. We grew
Yeah.
up together, and I mean, they grew up with me, and I grew older.
Yeah, of course.
But anyway, yeah, that was always my idea, and so we started looking for land.
Isn't that, sorry, just before we carry on, isn't that fascinating that you lost 3 kids
Yeah,
and God gave you 3 kids?
yeah, that's
plus an extra 20.
plus an extra 26.
Yeah.
And
but it's like I'm not only going to restore what you've lost, but I'm going to give you this abundance of what you're wanting as well. Like,
and as I mentioned to you earlier, that after this serious car accident, that 3.5 years later, that specialist doctors said there's no way you'll ever be normal again visually, because I had 4th nerve palsy. And I thought, well, I'm a person that rises to challenges. I thought, oh, well, we'll see about that. And it took 3.5 years and an act of faith.
And that, just to remind our listeners, that's when you see double.
Yeah, I saw 2 visions of everything. I'd be mowing my lawn, and the trees would lean in towards me. I'd see 2 unfused views of everything. I couldn't drive a car except I had a patch over one eye or the other eye. I could only use one eye at a time.
Yeah.
But it was very distressing because...
So is that like if I go cross-eyed, and you see
I don't know.
Is it similar to that?
It was just
trying to...
It's it was caused by the 4th optic nerve goes under your skull.
So something
up
that's
the
happening...
middle. And that was damaged. That's where I hit
Wow.
when in the accident. The vehicle I was in, I was a passenger, by the way, turned over. I hit my head, went through the windscreen, came back, turned upside down. I broke my shoulder and all the ribs on this side, and 2 bones in my neck, C6, C7. And that should have alone have made me a quadriplegic, but it didn't. And so...
Man, God has been...
So, yeah, I struggled to employ myself because I've always been self-employed, except once I left the government as a senior government scientist at the age of 30. So, yeah,
So from 30 to now, you've always been self-employed /
always
missions or...
whatever, lots of things. As I say, opal miner, antique dealer, furniture maker, car restorer, classic car restorer. So, to build an orphanage, I designed my parents' home in Canberra at the age of 15 or 16. And
What's interesting here in your story so far is you've got all these kind of unique and bizarre skill sets that they don't really relate too much, like being a scientist, and then also antiques, and then you've got creating furniture, but they all kind of work together for coming over here and building an orphanage. Like you need a set of very interesting skills, including the skill, if I want to call it the skill set of heartbreak of losing 3 kids yourself.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a prerequisite to having that overwhelming love for kids.
Yeah. And especially kids of a different culture, different. I hate to use the word race, but the world understands race. And we're all descendants of Noah, but
not in a bad term, but we are all different. Yeah.
And so, I love these kids. I still do. The oldest one is 23. The youngest one, Tommy's 17. He's at school for the gifted in Chiang Mai.
Wow.
And,
awesome.
Some of our kids are still at university or they're just finishing university. Others have done diplomas in the hospitality industry, which is the biggest earner in Thailand, because unless you want to be an engineer or a doctor, which is pretty narrow field, for kids, our kids have chosen, and we guided them into the hospitality industry because there's, Thailand's a great tourist destination, and for good reasons. It's a beautiful country, lovely people, welcoming people.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so my skills went to designing the orphanage down to the school that we subsequently developed from the school we built for the orphans, so that they would have their own comfort zone as primary school students. And then we increased the facilities, and I built an in-ground swimming pool, a super slider that's, if you've ever been on a slippery dip, this thing is the biggest you'll ever see. And
just like a giant slide.
Yeah, a giant slide. I built it all out of stainless steel so that we wouldn't never rust away. In a tree house, you climbed up the tree house first, and then you went down the slider. I built I said, kids, what do you want? And they said, we want a basketball court. So I built a basketball court, 2/3, because they're only little kids, right? There's 2/3 the size of an NBA court.
Wow.
And
that's all you need, though.
Yeah. And so many other things that they've got,
Can I ask you about your early days as you started in the orphanage?
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
Horrible.
Yeah.
Now,
tell me the highs and tell me the lows.
Somebody asked me just a couple of weeks ago, she said, how would you articulate what your experience is? And I said disappointment. Because what's been disappointing is how my dear friends in Australia, they supported me 100%. And because I'm nearly 80, they've all passed away now, or, we've lost touch, sadly. But the church hasn't supported me anymore. And because people think little kids, oh, yeah, we love them, we'll give them money, we'll give up a cup of coffee and give them that money. But when they're older, that's when they cost, education costs, university fees. We still pay their rent at a condominium in the city where all the kids stay that are, because they're our kids, we don't want to abandon them because they become 17, 18, 19. And so our support fell away, and it's been a real struggle financially to keep things running, to keep the school running, because, you're constantly maintaining it. I do a lot of the maintenance because I'm good with my hands, and but
So what was the hardest points of the
The hardest point
first
is
5 years?
different culture, different, surrounded by Buddhists everywhere, and
Yeah.
we have to be careful what we say,
Yes.
because then the students go and tell their dad, "Oh, I've said something about Buddhism," and then they're going to pull their students out of the school. And so it's very hard. I feel like I'm walking on thin ice all the time. And then, as I say, in Australia,
understand that.
I saw God perform miracles through my prayers, my laying on of hands. And in Thailand, I feel the Buddhist spiritual opposition is so much stronger than I expected. But objectively, if I was objective, which I'm not because I'm involved personally, I'd say what we've done is a miracle, because what God has done, I give him all the glory, because I couldn't have done anything without him. From my accident healing and meeting Juanita, who's been such a blessing, with the children, with legal matters and getting me visas, getting a visa every year for 25 years, without the money that you need to have a retirement visa. Very challenging. But Juanita has always helped. She's always, employed the staff, the teachers, and she networks with them. My role is to network with our people overseas, and I go on Facebook and I mention, but I've almost given up on that too, because Facebook blocked me, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, they don't like Christians, and I'm pretty overt. I'm in your face, you're either a Christian or you don't exist. Sorry. But it has been a challenge, because I came here at 54. I'm virtually 80 now. I've never had a friend here. Dave is the closest I've had to a friend, but he never comes down. And I rarely see him in Chiang Mai, because when we come to Chiang Mai, it's always visas, or every 98 days, every foreigner has to report to immigration.
So do you come to immigration here?
Yeah.
Oh, there's not one closer.
No. I have to drive 2 hours each way every 90 days for 25 years just to fill in forms and say, yes,
Yeah.
I'm still here. I haven't changed address. Even if you go on a holiday, you still have to report to immigration where you're staying. And immigration doesn't care that I have built a rural school, an exemplary rural school in Thailand, and I've raised 29 kids with the help of my wife, of course. But they expect that from my wife, but not from a foreigner. And so I feel really betrayed by that, that Thailand government doesn't care what I've contributed, that they still put me through the third degree. Our marriage visa every year is 10 pages, photographs of everything we've done. It's really close scrutiny.
Yeah.
And as I say, having no friends in that area, and
So is there basically no foreigners there?
there was one guy who claimed to be a Christian. He's gone back to Sweden, but he
Okay.
never saw. We saw him occasionally, and he'd invite the kids around. He was a great cook, but he went back to He's not Swedish, but he was educated in Sweden. He's gone back to Sweden now,
Okay.
and he was the only guy. And he didn't come that often. And
Can you speak Thai?
sorry,
Can you speak Thai?
I taught myself from the dictionary
Yeah.
Thai,
Okay.
because nobody else wanted to teach me Thai, because they're so purist about their language. I saw my role as teaching the kids English so they could get employment in the hospitality industry. Because if you can speak English in Thailand, this is,
Oh, it's huge. Yeah.
yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Juanita even didn't speak English fluently, because even though she worked in a hotel, it was just, standard. Where do I check in? Where can I,
Yeah.
just basic phrases.
I tell
And
you, I really enjoyed talking to Juanita at the cafe because she was telling me when she was 8 years old, the missionary came
Yeah,
and
to her.
shared Christ with her, and she's been a follower of Christ ever since.
Yeah,
And that's really rare, in Thailand, like for a Buddhist family to be
yeah,
converted and authentically converted, because sometimes you just sort of Thais are so welcoming that they don't want to offend you, so they will say
yeah.
they'll just agree. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I believe in Jesus. Yes. No, you can leave me. You can stop telling me about Jesus now.
Yeah,
Have you found that?
the Thais are very proud people. We must understand that they're very
Yeah.
proud of their history, their cultural heritage. It's all Buddhist,
Mm.
and I can shoot Buddhism to pieces in 5 minutes, but they don't accept it.
Yeah.
They don't accept that, and
How do you evangelize to Thais?
I don't.
From oh, you don't.
Well, I don't. Being
Or
stuck
you-
at a school,
Yeah, true.
and I can't talk about Jesus. 5 minutes every year at Christmas time, they let me tell the nativity story, and that's all I'm allowed.
Yeah, but your kids follow Christ.
But my kids have heard the whole
Yeah.
gospel story. As I say, as a Bible college graduate, I know how, and I read the Bible continuously. Every night I read the Bible for at least 1 hour, verse by verse, chapter by chapter, going from it, Genesis to Revelation.
Mm.
But our kids, every Sunday in church, I prayed for them. I taught them the Bible, and we had visitors that had come, and visiting Christians came occasionally, very rarely, and but I sense a very strong spiritual opposition here in Thailand, because when you consider that Buddhism's been entrenched here for 2,500 years or so, it's very difficult to turn that over. And I came here expecting to perform miracles. Nothing like I could do in Australia. It's been a slow miracle, a hard slog of day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, hanging in there to the best of my ability without any encouragement from anyone, any other Christian anywhere else in the world. Christians came from America and Canada and in the early days, and that was sort of brief encouragement, but they weren't really immersed in the vision. They didn't understand. They say, "Oh yeah, cute kids. We love the kids," but no one offering moral or financial support. And that's what I needed, encouragement. 25 years is a long time to be in a strange country.
Okay, this is.
And I have to answer your question.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes, having designed everything, I had to talk to Thai builders who are wonderful. So I can talk to a Thai builder and have them say, "Wow, this guy knows his stuff." No building experience at all, but anyway, that's another gift. But as speaking fluently like Juanita does, and Thais talk very quickly. If I went back to Australia and people started talking to me at how you going, mate? All right, but I wouldn't understand a lot of that now, because Thais talk very quickly and almost in a monotone. It's a language a musical language, and so
It's tonal, isn't it? So,
but I don't hear that because I'm hearing impaired because of my age, and I don't hear the subtleties of Thai. So, and as I say, I see my role. I talk to the students in English when I pass them in the when they're outside the classroom. I've taught my wife has learned English from listening to me. Her 3 kids are fluent in English. The 26 orphans, some of them are, a lot of them, the ones that communicate with me, and not all do, but the ones that are pretty fluent in English. And they all work in the hospitality industry, of course. And just recently, my brother has arrived. I haven't seen him he married a Dutch girl and moved to Holland, like 40-odd years ago.
I married a Dutch girl too.
Sorry?
I've married a Dutch girl as well.
Oh, wow. Anyway, she's just been committed to care because of dementia, Alzheimer's. And so he's had the opportunity to come and visit me. And I just sent him a message. Look, one of our boys works in a hotel that's just near where you're staying. And can you go and visit him? And then this conversation took place that, I'm in this lounge now, and I can't see anyone that fits your description. And then I hear, hello, are you Jerry? Oh, he's talking to somebody else. Huh. Are you Jerry? Yes. And so, this is wonderful to introduce one of my kids.
Yeah.
Jerry's 21 or 2, HIV orphan.
Oh.
But a lovely young man. He's been in the army for a year. Just recently got out because he had a diploma of hospitality. He didn't have to do the full 2 years of military training as 2 of our other sons have had to do, Robin and Steve. Yeah. Steve's still in the army. But,
wow.
Our kids are all different personalities, but they know whatever happens in their lives, they can come back to mum and dad.
Yeah.
And that, we are.
And would you say that they've got a relationship with the Lord, your kids?
Yeah.
Because that's got to be
through me, unfortunately. They're not mature enough. I didn't become a Christian till I was 40, and I was, as I say, an Anglican young, and I went to church every Sunday, but
for example,
I wasn't born again.
If your kids were going through some sort of difficulty or hardship, my question is would they pray?
It's a good question.
Do you think?
And
I'm not sure.
How would you know? You're not going to ask them that question because they won't tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But as I say, recently, one of our daughters, her boyfriend was seriously injured in a motorbike collision. And she said, Dad, can you pray for him? That was her straight.
I think that's your answer then.
That was a quick response was, Dad, pray for him. Can you pray for him every day? And I said, yes, of course, darling. And, this has changed her. She now sends me I send a message online. It's a social networking medium that I say good night to them every night, tell them that I love them. And some of them a lot of them will say good night to me and I love you, Dad. And, that I never had that from my father. So I'm living a life that I've never experienced in my own youth. I had a great loving mum, and my parents say were good, exemplary parents, but not. My dad didn't relate at all to me so I found that as a handicap as a father figure that I've had to learn how to be a dad, and so. How I expressed that was building stuff for the kids to enjoy, like the super slider, the swimming pool, the basketball court. That's my way of non-verbally of saying I love you. And but it's hard when you're financially limited by what support trickles in. Yeah, it really is hard. And
so for the people that have been supporting you over the last 20 years, we'll definitely say thanks for everyone that has been partnering with you. But now that they've grown older, you've found that people they're quick to support young orphans,
Mm.
but the older they get, the support can teeter off.
Yeah,
But
because
you still need it as well.
you still
because-
need it because kids need to be educated.
That's
You know,
right.
as I say, Tommy is at Chiang Mai School for the gifted, and he's only 17, and he's hopefully will go to university, but he's still got another year of school after this, and we have to pay the fees. We have to pay rent on where they condo where they're staying. We have to give them food money and money for books and and so this is the most expensive time. Okay, we've built all the facilities for our school, which is good, and the school is a bit of an earner for us, but the kids at the school, especially the little boys, are very destructive. We've got everything for them. We've got table tennis tables. I built a yurt, which is a big recreational area. They've got everything there, but they're all kids that are of parents who can afford to pay for school fees. So they're probably spoilt little kids, and they don't really value our facilities. But the other kids in the city, some of them are at university, and others are starting jobs. Just as working in a coffee shop. The wages here are minimal. They don't give you enough money to pay rent and buy food and buy clothing, and so we have to support them financially. It's minimal support, but it still costs money. And when you've got 26 of them,
it's one thing I've noticed with missionaries is they can get good support when they're starting out in the mission field, and often, and you mentioned this, it's their peers. They're people that are similar age to them, and they're like, yep, I'm in the workforce back in Australia, and I'm going to partner with you in Thailand. And throughout 20 years, 30 years, they will support you. But as they come to retire, their income drops significantly.
Yeah.
And the first person to get taken off their expense column is often the missionaries that they're supporting. And that is, you're not alone in that. So what I'm saying this for our listeners is that when you're supporting people, I would almost encourage you to find and support an older missionary and follow through with their retirement as well. Because often it's the peer-to-peers. They're the same age as you. They all hit retirement at the same time or within 5 years. And then all of a sudden, the missionary that has put their blood, sweat, and tears, they're sacrificing their whole life for the cause of the gospel, raising orphans, saving souls all around wherever. Instead of building the career and the safety net, they've been basically sacrificing their well-being for this incredible cause, left in the dirt a lot of the time. So this is a call to action for our younger listeners that are listening. If they want to partner with Phil, especially you said you're almost 80, this is the time where you don't need that support to fall off as well. Like you do need to carry it through, not just for you, but your kids are like you said, they're going to uni, they're getting educated. This is the time where if they can't get to past this point, that they can, like, this is how they get that generational next best life for them and for their kids, and to break that chain of poverty is basically within the next 10 years, is see if we can get them through this education system. So I just want to point that out. Sometimes it's better coming from somebody else than you. Because I totally agree with what you're saying. It's heartbreaking, the lack of support.
It is
that can get dropped
heartbreaking,
off.
and especially as I came from a good Bible-believing church, but it was a church run by a very gifted man who had a local vision to get the whole community saved, but didn't have a missions vision. And I found that hard. because every Christian should have a missions vision. That we're
Yeah.
so privileged in Australia, New Zealand. New Zealand. The impression I get of New Zealand is that everybody's a Christian, but it's probably not quite true.
It's not quite true. And we also have hit the same issue as we came from a church that basically, when we put our hand up to be missionaries, even though what we're doing is a little more unique in this sense of missions, but we are getting alongside other missionaries and incredible missions, we didn't get any support either. None financially. We weren't really allowed to go onto the stage and say what we were doing. We weren't
Wow.
able to fundraise any money from our church that I had been playing in the worship team for 15, 20 years, 3 times a week. And and this is the hard part, is I don't condemn the church.
No,
I
you
think
can't.
their mission is their mission.
Mm.
And unfortunately, our mission that the Lord gave us didn't fit under what the Lord gave them. So we just had to trust the Lord, not trust our church, but we had to trust the Lord.
Yeah.
And that has been a little bit of a blessing, to not trust the church building to provide, but to go, Lord, you've asked us to go. We're just going to go. We believe if we run out of money, you'll provide more money. Lord, you've got this. And just go, kind of like Abraham, just, all right, that adventure.
Yeah, you just have to read the book of Acts, don't you, to see how tough it is. Because Paul was a missionary and, he had guys disappear on him and, he got stoned and he was flogged and he was jailed and he wrote those beautiful letters from prison in Rome. And you just think, who am I to complain, Lord? I'm nearly 80 years of age. I'm still pretty healthy. I can still work hard with my hands. And
you've run such a great race, I think, where it says to run the good race.
Run is past tense, I'm running.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know how long we've got, but the way I see the world, we don't have a, well, anyway, at least I don't at my age have a great future in missions, but I still feel an obligation to these kids because I've parented these kids. Juanita and I have mum and dad to these 26 kids. The other three, 2 of them work as teachers in our school. One's got an honours degree in English and the other one's got a degree in tourism. But, my daughter came up to me, the teacher at our school came up to me the other day with a speech that she had translated from a little Thai boy's idea, what his favourite time is. And I said, I read it and I thought, why are there no mistakes in this? It was perfect English. And I handed it back to her and I said, I've circled your mistakes with a red pen. And she said, I can't see any red pen. I said, that's right. There are no mistakes.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty incredible in Thailand.
Yeah.
And she said, even the grade 2 and 3 kids can understand that in English. When I came here 25 years ago, hardly anybody could speak English. The only English you'd hear is if you went to a doctor because they have to learn English in their medical studies. But for us at our little rural school, to have kids that in grade 2 and 3 that can understand English.
Pretty cool.
And on Fridays I do, and for competitions I do Scrabble or crossword as they call it here. I play that game with the grade 6 kids, 5 and 6 kids, and they win their competitions because, they hear English as it's spoken by a proper English speaker, or Australian speaker, but anyway.
We won't go there.
No, but after 25 years, I hope I'm not too strong an Australian accent because I've had to speak to people from all over the world. And then in the early days, people did come from all over the world, Canada, America, Europe. They came and, this in a way is miraculous. 'Cause we're in a little rural school in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, Hot has got
Yeah.
a population of, I don't know, 5 or 10,000.
Yeah.
And people came from all over the world to see
Yeah.
what we've done there and what the Lord has done. I don't take any credit for it, you know. Yes, I've hung in there.
You've
Despite-
you've stewarded the mission. God said, go,
Yeah.
and you went. That's awesome.
And I've been better treated than Paul was. But then again,
Yeah, I'd say most
I'm
of
not
us
Paul.
have. Yeah.
I'm Phil. But
Yeah. So, Phil, these next couple of years, if people want to partner with you,
Mm.
do you have a link or something that you could give us, and I can put that in the description so people can find that and partner with you?
a link.
Yeah, like they can click on. So I'll write a description underneath this episode when we release this, so people can read a little bit about what we talk about.
Okay, yeah.
But in that description,
Yeah.
we can put like a bank account or a way or an email, so people can touch base with you and say, "How can I partner with
Yeah,
you?"
we can talk about this off camera because I'm not really
Yeah.
sure of what you get, where you're going.
Well,
But
if-
we've had, I once had a visitor, a Canadian man came to our orphanage and he said, "Do you have a brochure?"
Mm,
And I said, "We're not no, we don't have a brochure.
yeah,
You know, we're not that big an organisation." And perhaps that was a mistake of mine, that I should have produced a brochure, but then it makes it, you look like you're
well, this is a bit of a visual, verbal brochure. When people listen to this, they get an understanding of what you're doing. So, if you guys are interested to partner with Paul and Juanita, then
Phil.
sorry,
Paul's my brother.
yes, sorry, I got mixed
It's
up with the names with Phil. Then yeah, in the description below, you'll find something that enables you to connect.
Yeah.
So we'll just put that in.
I'll hand that over to my dear wife, who's
Yes.
she, being Thai, and she's much better at communicating the sort of administrative stuff. That I'm the hands-on man that designs things, builds things, fixes things.
Yeah.
And
No, that's good.
Yeah.
We work so well when you got
and
a partner.
praise.
Yeah.
I started at my church a prayer ministry. I would go to church every day, 365 days of a year, and pray between 6 and 7. And people mainly men would join me.
Mm,
And then after a year, the pastor said, "No, we don't want any more prayer ministry. The ladies will do that."
mm.
This is heartbreaking when a pastor says we don't need any more prayer. I'll hand that over to the ladies, because one guy said to me, "Phil, I never saw you not there. And one time you had the flu badly and you were under a table praying."
Mm.
And so looking back, I know that I've had a call on my life from the Lord. I don't know. He probably waited till I was 40, till I got fed up with the world.
Mm.
But anyway, I have, looking back over 80 years, I can see that the Lord has had a powerful hand on my life, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. And I just hope that when we get to glory, I'll see the fruit of it, because it's too early to see the fruit. Yes, some of the children are, well, most of them are doing okay.
Mm.
For kids that have, we haven't been able to lavish finances on,
Mm.
but they've grown up, as most Thai children do, in a humble circumstance, and they're tougher because of that.
Mm.
Whereas I grew up in a privileged environment, and compared to
Yeah.
the Thai kids, and so I've been able to use that privileged background to help them. And
Mm. Yeah.
uh,
Well, thank you, Phil, for everything that you've been doing. Honestly, last 20 odd years, 25 years that you've been here raising these kids,
mm,
I'm raising one myself.
Wow.
and he's 1.5, and that's a handful. So I cannot even comprehend.
And they're of your own body. And so when they're complete strangers and you've got to talk to them, I'd talk to them in Thai when they were young. I'd talk. That's why I had to learn Thai quickly, and then as they got older, I'd merge that into English and
Yeah,
challenging.
it's
challenging.
yeah.
But
But I honor you
but
for everything.
my wife has been I can see that she was a gift of God. That she really, without her, there was no way I could have done this. And in my foolishness, I suppose I probably thought I could do this, but God thought, no, you can't. And so I'll give you a Thai wife who will enable you to do what you've done. And so I give her the credit, and
Well,
as
the Bible
well as the
says
Lord.
that. The Bible says that a good wife is a gift from the Lord.
Yeah, I read Proverbs 31 to her.
Yeah,
It's a very powerful proverb, and it shows just how powerful a good wife can be.
yeah.
And Juanita is that good wife. Yes.
100%. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I honestly commend you, for both of you, for what you've been doing. We're gonna make sure that we get this out to people.
Okay.
And I reckon even in 90 days, when you guys come back, may as well jump on and to give us a bit of an update. Try to get a bit more of the story, and we can do a couple of episodes, because 25 years is a lot. You can't squeeze that into 1 hour or 2 hours.
You can't.
So we could do a few episodes, I think, with you guys. And
I might just mention too that I contracted bowel cancer nearly 22 years ago, and I preached to the doctor, the surgeon, afterwards, because he said, I'm going to put you on chemo now. And I said, no, you're not.
Wow.
And I said, I'm a Christian and I believe in divine healing. And I preached to him for half an hour while I'm still in the recovery ward. And I'm a serious case.
Oh, amazing. Oh, we got stories for forever then. That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
so
well, thank you.
Thank you, Joel, for your opportunity, and please believe that you meeting Dave and Dave recommending me, that is a miracle, because I've heard almost nothing from Dave for the last 5 or 6 years. And so, yeah.
He spoke very highly of you.
I tried to help him with. He believes that there was a curse on his life, and I showed him a prayer to deliver him from that. And he knows he knew I was a Christian, yeah. And
yeah.
But anyway, it's hard, coming to Chiang Mai, as I say, we only ever came on business, and so I had no time to socialise with Dave, and I regret that. And
well, there's time. I think we could. There's always time to. Well, there's not always time, but I think that you might have a little bit of time to be able to communicate. Like, come to that cafe every 3 months. I can meet you there. Be great to hang out a bit more, and hang out with Dave and see him more than once every 5 years.
yeah,
Be great. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Okay.
And it was great to have you.
Thank you, Joel.
Yeah.
God bless you.